What's going on, everybody? This is dkdynamite, and today we're going to be talking about the first details on COD 2024, a new development on what could be a huge Cold War crossover coming up, and even more. Definitely stay tuned. But before we jump into that, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below, drop a like, and make sure you have notifications on to stay up to date with everything going on in Cold War Year 2, Warzone, Modern Warfare 2, and any other future Call of Duty as well. Want to thank all you guys for the crazy support on the recent videos. Truly means the world. Also got plenty of streams coming up for you guys. Some casual daily gameplay ones where we just do open lobbies, play some Black Ops Plutonium, Cold War, Warzone, the works. I also have the podcast on Friday, and next week we have the launch of both Fortune's Keep, the new map in Warzone, and Shinonuma Reborn for Vanguard Zombies. I'll probably do 2 separate streams for those 2 releases, or I might do it all in one. I'm just debating right now on what exactly to do with that. Season 4 is going to be a very hectic launch for all content creators out there, so bear with me as I cover everything I can in a timely manner. But first off, I want to start with this, a point that I made on the podcast recently that I'm sure you guys probably missed. I want to ask you guys honestly and truthfully, what was the innovation in the Modern Warfare 2 campaign reveal? Not hating on it at all. It was definitely some good footage. I didn't watch it in IMAX, so I probably didn't get the full experience when watching it, but it was just campaign gameplay, right? Nothing too special, but compare that to the Cold War campaign gameplay reveal from a couple of years ago of Nowhere Left to Run, and that gameplay did feature a fair amount of innovation, right? Looking at the slow motion sniper bullet, which is fairly unique and exclusive to the Cold War campaign. We have the new animation being able to take enemies hostage and kind of hold on to them while you shoot. You have the RCXD. It was some pretty breathtaking footage in and of itself, which had people pre-ordering on the spot instantly in comparison to the Modern Warfare 2 footage, which was a bit more laid back, obviously rooted in realism, but to me just wasn't as exciting. I'm going to get called a shill 100% in the comments, and I remind you guys again, I'm not hating on Modern Warfare 2. I'm still excited for the game and can't wait to cover it, but I want to ask you guys about that comparison, right? What was the innovation? Where was the actual innovation in the Modern Warfare 2 gameplay that doesn't have to do with the water tech, right? And the fact that they said it was pre-alpha footage, but didn't really disclose that when the gameplay premiered, which is odd to me. Kind of felt like damage control towards the end when they saw a lot of complaints about the graphics, about how the gameplay was a bit slow. That was the reception that I saw all over Twitter and Reddit, YouTube comments. It was nothing crazy, but if you look back at the Cold War reveal, you really didn't see any complaints at all about how the graphics looked, the animation, or anything of that sort. But with that aside, I want to follow up on something very important that I touched on a little bit in a previous video where we went over the new stockpile bundle in Cold War Year 2. Briefly in that video, I brought up the fact that somehow some new maps were data mined that are apparently for T10. T10 is Treyarch's 10th game and will be their next Call of Duty game that's supposedly coming out in 2024. Now, the maps that were data mined are as follows: Radar, Island, Pillage, and Canals. No idea what those maps are, what they'll be a part of. Are they just multiplayer maps? Are they going to be a part of some new Battle Royale experience for Warzone 2? We don't know what those locations are, but I guess you could speculate and put on a tinfoil hat that Radar could be a remaster of Array, which I would love to see and sort of got brought back through Blackout, but we haven't seen a faithful version of that exclusive experience that we only had in Black Ops 1. We haven't gotten that yet in a new Treyarch game, so maybe that's what that could be, but that's of course a major stretch. We have no information about that whatsoever right now. Now, tonight's video is sponsored by Blood Vessels. Blood Vessels is a community-driven narrative game with tabletop role-playing and NFT elements. The game is available on the Blood Vessels Discord server. The year is 1893. You play as a vampire mutated by a mysterious virus, and if you're hungry for blood and curious about your own origins, it's up to you to decide if the vampires will move against humanity, coexist, or stay hidden in the shadows. The initial rollouts of Blood Vessels will have different scenarios and storylines. Owning an NFT vampire gives you access to special community channels in the Blood Vessels Discord server, where your choices help to decide the fates of vampires in the world and determine where the story goes next. You can join the Blood Vessels Discord community with the link in this video's description or the pinned comment to build the lore, characters, and storylines of the vampire world. The future of vampire kind is in your hands. If you want to be as cool as Morbius, then check out Blood Vessels with the special link down below or the QR code on screen, and thank you to Blood Vessels for sponsoring tonight's video. But I want to make a correction, because in that previous video where I first discussed this, I mentioned that these maps were found in the Warzone 1 files, which would make sense, and I'll get to that in a second, but they were actually found in the Warzone mobile files, which is even crazier. And in terms of the mistake I made in that last video, I think there were just conflicting reports going around saying different things. And again, I'm not a leaker or a data miner or even a gaming scooper in the industry. I'm just reporting on the news for you guys and covering a franchise that I love. So sometimes we make mistakes. It happens. So the fact that these maps were in the Warzone mobile files is strange to me, right? Is this like a placeholder? Is T10 not actually referencing the next Black Ops game? Does it mean something else? I don't see why that would be the case, but if they're in the Warzone Mobile files, then all I could think of is that at some point in Warzone Mobile's life, not only are we going to get Verdansk, which gameplay already exists of, that's the first map coming with Warzone Mobile, I'd also expect Rebirth, maybe there'll be a new experience of sorts that includes these areas that will also then be included in Black Ops 2024 via multiplayer or that game's fire team mode if that exists. It's unclear how that's going to work, but I originally thought it made sense that they could have been in the Warzone 1 files because Treyarch is, as of right now, getting used to developing new content through the Modern Warfare engine, which they have not done before, hence why Vanguard Zombies is a bit of a mess. It's their first time experimenting with those new sets of tools, and they're still adjusting to it, obviously with heavy time constraints, so I would have assumed, oh, right, as they're kind of building the foundation for the next Black Ops game, things are accidentally slipping into the Warzone files as they experiment with the Modern Warfare engine. That would have made some sense, and I also wouldn't be surprised if in Warzone's 2 files, at some point in the next couple of months, people also find references to what Treyarch is also working on that will be using the same set of tools. That's kind of where my thinking is right now with how that could all work. Now, although it seems like it's too early for any leaks to exist about the next Black Ops game, keep in mind that according to gaming scoopers out there, Treyarch will have an additional year to work on this game, so it is good news that they're building the foundation right now for all their game modes, so they really get to experience a full 3-year plus development cycle, which they haven't had a chance to really experience in a while. Black Ops 4 was their last chance, but because of strange leadership and poor decisions, and also the inclusion of a battle royale at the last minute, that game really didn't get to experience a full 3 years of development. And you know the story with Cold War during a pandemic with a less than 2-year cycle. It wasn't even their game to begin with. Treyarch's been screwed over countless times, and at this point I'm convinced that I'm gonna work on a documentary at some point in the future talking about how many times Treyarch has gotten screwed over, and not just them, because Infinity Ward and Sledgehammer have also gotten the short end of the stick in more ways than another, but definitely less than Treyarch. I think in recent years Treyarch has gotten screwed the most, and it's unfortunate because you could definitely see their ambition with their new projects, right? They want to actually execute so many different things, but they haven't had the time to do so, and now with this next Black Ops game, that could be their chance. Now, something I've been saying for a while is that Black Ops Cold War should have seen fewer remasters of maps that were from Black Ops 2. I feel like there's so many maps just waiting to be remastered that are amazing from Black Ops 1 that would fit Cold War a lot better. However, as I said in previous videos of mine, Cold War is kind of a modern Black Ops 2 anyway, if I had to be honest with you, based on the gameplay and mechanics and the design of the maps. That's just my opinion, but I feel like maps such as Express or Raid and Hijacked could have played a lot better in a game taking place in the future, which is probably what Treyarch's next game is anyway, but I'm still grateful that we got those remasters in Cold War. They still play very good. But don't forget, there was a rumor that Yemen and Plaza were scheduled to launch in Cold War at some point during Season 5. That never happened. I'll be honest though, I think Yemen is probably a bit too controversial to drop in COD right now for many reasons, but Plaza would have been cool. That was a great map, but I personally feel like these maps are probably on deck for their next game. Maybe they're just saving them and they're going to somehow rework them from the ground up on the Modern Warfare engine if that's possible, or they just got scrapped entirely. It's a bit unclear, but I definitely think that if we get more Black Ops 2 remasters in Cold War, at this rate we're going to have nearly all maps from Black Ops 2 in Cold War right now, which would be crazy. I want it the other way around. I want it to be where more Black Ops 1 maps are in Cold War, which would work a lot cleaner in my opinion. But as I brought up in I think 2 previous videos now, every time Treyarch has to get used to a new engine, and in this case it's the Modern Warfare one, they typically always go back to World at War and remaster the first 4 zombie maps. They did it a lot in the past, as you guys probably forgot about. Black Ops 2 was set to get a DLC 5 with the World at War maps that got canceled. They got brought back in Zombies Chronicles BO3. We had Verrückt and some other areas of the World at War arenas in Blackouts. We of course have Nocturne and Toten through D Machine, and we have Shinonuma in Vanguard with the full-fledged round-based version coming very soon. So I wouldn't be shocked if, because we already have 2 World at War maps in Vanguard multiplayer, Castle and Dome, maybe their 2023 free-to-play project is actually going to be a full-fledged World at War remake. That would be cool. Think of The Last of Us, right? With how they're remaking that game from the ground up with modern technology, but keeping the story the same and the gameplay relatively similar. Imagine that treatment for World at War. If they do that and get all of that done for 2023, which I think is definitely doable, I think that sets up Black Ops 2024 for even more success. They'll have more resources and assets available to them that are already on deck thanks to the World at War remake, and then they can incorporate some of that to help them develop Black Ops 2024 even smoother. But to me, their work on Vanguard is already kind of helping them build a foundation for their future Call of Duty projects that'll be on the Modern Warfare engine, but figured I'd throw that out there. And what's really interesting is our new Warzone map, Fortune's Keep, takes place in 1976 throughout the Mediterranean Sea. But 1976 is also the same year that Stitch is broken out of the Gulag by a small team, presumably Perseus. And the fact that the new operation on Fortune's Keep takes place in the same year has me thinking that that is not a coincidence, and something big is about to be set up that's Black Ops related at some point in Season 4 or by the end of Vanguard's life cycle. Now, considering we're about to get a zombies outbreak and a nuke on Rebirth or something of that sort, has me thinking that Perseus maybe used zombies to some extent to their advantage to break Stitch out, which then sets up the opening of Black Ops Cold War a little bit and kind of sets up Stitch's arc a lot more. Now, what I still find very fascinating to me is that Season 2 Reloaded, as of recently, was heavily focused around Perseus. It actually confirmed that Perseus is still around in modern day, in the 2020s, which is Modern Warfare's era, and that they were rebuilding Rebirth Island. So the fact that we're about to get some type of nuke event in the past on Rebirth Island, that could help set up some more storyline that we could see explored in Modern Warfare 2. And I think if we get any mention of Perseus or any Black Ops lore in Modern Warfare 2, that could also be used to directly tie into whatever Treyarch has planned for their next Black Ops game. It recently got confirmed that the narrative teams are going to be more closely intertwined so that we have a shared narrative moving forward that doesn't feel a bit disjointed, because I think recently we've had it made very clear to us what the new timeline is for Call of Duty. We have World at War, Vanguard, Black Ops 1, Black Ops Cold War, Modern Warfare 2019, and presumably Black Ops 2. So now at this point, it's up to the writers to kind of get together and say, okay, how do we make all of this canon? How do we tie everything in together? And how do we make all of this make sense? But I think considering the confirmation that the other Black Ops games are still canon, it just means to me that the next Black Ops game is a lot of opportunity to fill in even more gaps in between Black Ops Cold War and Black Ops 2, in between Black Ops 2 and Black Ops 3. A lot of potential there, especially with Menendez, who I thought was going to at least make a cameo in Cold War, but didn't. We know his father did through Cartel and multiplayer, but I definitely think considering Menendez also has ties to Perseus, that is being teased right now with the fact that Perseus exists in modern day throughout the 2020s and are still handling some research over at Rebirth. I think that's definitely going to be explored upon a lot in the next Black Ops game, maybe even a tad bit in Modern Warfare 2. But I know what you guys are probably thinking, David Mason in Modern Warfare 2, how about a cameo? I think it's certainly possible we get like intel or a teaser somewhere through dialogue that the events are going on with Los Angeles and Menendez. Certainly plausible. I definitely think Modern Warfare 2 will have a very strong campaign that stands on its own 2 feet, doesn't rely on nostalgia or this crossover to really get things going. But I would say it's certainly possible Activision wants to make sure that some other blueprints and breadcrumbs are included in Modern Warfare 2 that help intertwine the story of Black Ops 2024, which might take place in a similar era to MW2, by the way. They want to help intertwine all of that together so that it feels like an interconnected story. So definitely a lot of potential for a bit of a cinematic universe, so to speak, with the Call of Duty series, where we get some full-fledged crossovers between Black Ops and Modern Warfare in future releases. But I also wanted to add that I really don't think Infinity Ward knows much about the quote-unquote year 2 for Modern Warfare 2 yet. I think it's news to them, and typically this happens, right? Developers wake up to breaking news on Twitter or Charlie Intel or a content creator that they did not hear anything about prior to the news breaking, which is crazy to hear. I think it was Treyarch who actually heard the news first on Twitter that they were developing COD 2020. That's wild to me that that happens, but I personally don't think anything has been set in stone yet for how year 2 will work, and they're going to kind of wing it as they go along and try to get content going as fast as possible to set up possibly 12 seasons of content. That's probably what I'm thinking right now when it comes to how the next 2 years of Call of Duty are going to work. Hopefully Infinity Ward is able to kind of get things done on the fly and make sure the next 2 years are action-packed with DLC. But also don't forget, we've got plenty of teasers and hype built up from Treyarch developers about what's in store for zombies. They plan on building the biggest zombies experience yet with the next Black Black Ops game, and there's no doubt in my mind about that. I think for sure they want to at least get out 6 round-based maps minimum like we're accustomed to from previous games, and they also want to do a new iteration of Outbreak, which to me could be a lot better and a lot smoother with the Modern Warfare engine, being able to have a full open world map with several regions included and multiple objectives within those regions instead of having the warping system that we have in Outbreak 1 right now. A lot of potential with that, along with having Onslaught come back. I think if they bring out round-based Outbreak and Onslaught in full glory by launch of the next Black Ops game, it will guarantee that that game will have the largest zombies experience to date. But I also think with them hiring new people and the fact they'll get an additional year supposedly to make that game, there's almost no excuse at this point to not bring out the best experience yet, and no excuse not to bring out a super Easter egg that's on par with Director's Cut from Infinite Warfare. I think if you guys have been judging Treyarch for the past couple of years on what they've been doing, besides the restraints they've had, I actually think what you should be doing is then judging the next Black Ops game, which will have a full 3+ years of development with hopefully no time constraints and no BS included. I think at that point it'll be fair to say, all right, is this what Treyarch's best work is, and what are they capable of with an extended amount of time? I think that'll be fair to judge versus judging a project like Cold War, which got made literally under hell, and then Vanguard, which is a project that they definitely should not have been working on. That's why I've always said, right, if you want to judge them when they get a full 3-year cycle, not when they have to make something in less than a couple of months. Now, there is a picture going around of T10, the next Black Ops game. I don't think it's real. It also has placeholder information about it regarding custom mutations, which obviously had to do with Black Ops 4. I actually think this is an image of what could have been like an early prototype of Black Ops Cold War, but that would have been T9, not T10. So I'm definitely confused on where this image came from. I'm gonna say it's fake for now, but hopefully we don't get in trouble for talking about this. I think we're okay. And I also wonder if their free-to-play 2023 project will have any label of any sort, because I would think that would be T10 theoretically, and the next Black Ops game is T11, but maybe they're gonna have a different code name completely for how they end up developing their free-to-play project, which I wanna assume at this point is probably zombies related. But that is about it. This has been dkdynamite. Leave our thoughts down below in the comment section. What are your thoughts on our news roundup for the next Black Ops game coming in supposedly 2024? How are you feeling about the developments regarding some more Perseus connections, another Cold War crossover with the Vanguard season, and also what are your thoughts on the future of zombies? Really hope you've enjoyed, and peace out, everybody.